buttercup, you're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
All right, let's jump into this Eagles-Cowboys matchup. Clinching the NFC East. Gotta love it. We've got a great news article breaking down all the action, plus some insider info on both teams.
Should be fun.
You're gonna learn stuff you wouldn't believe, even if you're a diehard fan. Like, right off the bat, both teams are without their star quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's wild, isn't it? A real backup QB battle.
Totally. Pickett steps in for Hurts, Rush for Prescott, and man, Pickett's first couple drives, yikes.
I know, right? 2 3-and-outs, I was like, uh-oh, is this going to be rough?
Same here. Made me wonder if he could handle the pressure.
But, you know, our sources say the offensive line started clicking on that third drive. Give him way more time. He could actually see the field.
And did the Cowboys defense, mess up their adjustments or something? Because suddenly, bam.
That third drive was awesome.
6 for 6, 72 yards, touchdown, switch flipped.
And that touchdown pass to Devonta Smith, man, what a throw. Pickett was on fire.
It was beautiful. I was like, okay, maybe he's got this.
Right. Totally turned it around.
Until, boom, rib injury in the third quarter. Talk about a momentum killer.
And in comes Tanner McKee, the third stringer.
6th-round draft pick. I had to look him up. Who is this guy?
Exactly. But 2 touchdowns. The guy's got ice in his veins.
Seriously. Do you think maybe not having that starting pressure helped him? Just played loose?
Could be. But it also shows how good the Eagles' coaching is. He was ready for this.
Makes you wonder what could have been with a full game, right?
Definitely. All right. Got to talk about C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yep.
Last week, ejected. The defense was lost.
Yeah, I remember that. Night and day.
And this week, pick 6 on the Cowboys' very first drive.
Like a man on a mission. I was jumping out of my seat.
Second interception later, too. This is crazy. Both times he's gotten multiple interceptions against the Cowboys.
They must have nightmares about him.
It's more than just the picks, though, right? The whole defense plays different when he's there. More aggressive.
They know he's got their back. Okay, completely different topic, but gotta talk about Saquon Barkley. Chasing 2,000 rushing yards, needed a monster game.
And he delivered. Big time. 167 yards. That puts him over 2,000 for the season.
Insane. Only 8 other players in history have done that?
It's unreal. And here's the kicker. He's only 101 yards away from breaking Eric Dickerson's single-season record.
No way. So imagine you're the Eagles coach. Playoffs are locked in, but your star running back's this close to history?
What do? Rest him. Risk it. That's the tough call this time of year.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Okay, before we go down that rabbit hole, gotta give the Cowboys credit. Eliminated from the playoffs, but they didn't just lay down.
Nope, they fought hard. McCarthy sticking with Rush over Lance at QB, that meant they wanted to win.
And Micah Parsons, man, his pregame comments about the Eagles were intense. He wanted this win bad.
Beating the Eagles would probably make their year, he said.
I read that. Even without the playoffs, this game meant something to them. There's something to be said for that.
Absolutely. That competitive fire, even when the odds are stacked against you. It says a lot about a team's character. It really does. Makes you think about Pickett's injury, too. What if he'd stayed healthy?
Yeah, could have been even worse for the Cowboys, right?
Totally. He was on a roll. That 22-yard touchdown to Smith. Textbook.
Perfect spiral.
Right on the money. Every completion, he was getting more and more confident.
And then, boom, injury. Tough break for him.
But hey, silver lining. Eagles got to see what McKee can do in a real game situation. And he did not disappoint.
2 touchdowns. For a third stringer, that's got to make them feel good about their depth.
For sure. And again, it speaks to the coaching. They're prepared for anything.
On the other side, Cooper Rush, that pick 6 on the opening drive. Oof, talk about setting the wrong tone.
Rough start. But he did bounce back, threw a touchdown to Tolbert later on.
Had a few other decent throws, but you could tell that Eagles defense was just too much for him.
They were swarming him. And having Gardner-Johnson back there, it changes everything.
No doubt. Okay, back to Barkley and this potential record. 101 yards away from breaking Dickerson's record. That's crazy.
Right. It's not every day you see a running back dominate like this. It's a big deal.
So let's play this out. You're the coach. Playoffs are secured. But Barkley could make history?
Man, that's the kind of decision that keeps you up at night. Do you chase the record or do you protect him for the playoffs?
Especially with his average this season, over 125 yards per game. He's on pace to break it.
Yeah, but do you think teams will let him get those yards? They'll be stacking the box for sure.
True. They'll know exactly what's coming. Plus, if Mike Barkley sits, it gives other guys a chance to get some reps, which could be helpful in the playoffs.
You got to weigh everything. Individual glory versus what's best for the team. Tough call.
This is what I love about these deep dives. We're not just looking at the score, we're talking about the strategy, the decisions, the human side of it all.
Exactly. These little moments within the game, they tell a bigger story about the whole season.
Okay, back to the QBs for a minute. We talked about McKee's performance, but on the Cowboys side, they stuck with Cooper Rush over Trey Lance.
Interesting, right. They're out of the playoffs. You'd think they'd give the young guy a shot.
Yeah, let Lance get some real game experience, see what he can do.
Maybe they just wanted to end the season on a positive note, keep that winning mentality.
Maybe. But wouldn't it be valuable to see how Lance performs under pressure? Think about next season.
There's always that balance, right? Winning now versus developing for the future.
Makes you realize how much goes into coaching. It's not just X's and O's. It's personalities, long-term goals, tough calls in the moment.
A lot more than people think, for sure.
All right, last thing we got to talk about. The Cowboys' refusal to quit.
Yeah, they might have been outmatched, but they played hard all the way through.
Even before the pick six on that first drive, they moved the ball well, kept the Eagles' defense honest.
And then they answered right back with a touchdown of their own. Showed some real grit.
And Micah Parsons, man, he was relentless. Even without a sack, he was all over the place, putting pressure on both Pickett and McKee.
His comments before the game, his energy on the field, that's leadership, even in a meaningless game.
Every snap matters. These guys are playing for pride, for respect, for the love of the game.
That's something any fan can appreciate, no matter who you're rooting for.
You hit the nail on the head. It's that never give up attitude, right?
Yeah.
That's what we love about sports. But brings us back to the Eagles and this Barkley situation.
Yeah, tough one.
Easy to say, just sit them, playoffs are more important. But imagine being this close to making NFL history.
I know, right?
2,000 rushing yards, that's insane.
And like we said, only 8 players have ever done it.
And then to break Dickerson's record on top of that?
It's got to be tempting. A once-in-a-lifetime thing.
But then you got to think, what's the end goal?
Super Bowl, right.
Exactly. And risking Barkley's health for a record, that could backfire big time.
What if he gets hurt chasing those 101 yards? Think about the impact on the team.
Morale, the whole locker room dynamic. It's not just about one player.
Definitely not. It's a big decision.
This is what I love about these deep dives. It's more than just wins and losses.
It's the whole story.
All the stuff happening behind the scenes, choices, tough calls, the human side of it, it's fascinating.
Totally agree. And it's not just about Barkley and the Eagles. Pickett's injury, for example. Tough for him, but it also throws a wrench in their playoff plans.
And then McKee stepping up like that, does that change how they view their quarterback situation?
Gives them more confidence if something happens to Hurts in the playoffs? Who knows?
This all connect.
Exactly. That's why these deep dives are so much more than just game recaps.
It's about the bigger picture, the implications, the things you don't always see at first glance.
It gives fans more to think about, more to discuss.
As we head into the last week of the regular season, then the playoffs.
It's not just about the scores.
Keep an eye on the individual stories, the key moments, the choices that shape the whole narrative.
Because that's what makes it all so compelling.
Like we saw with this Eagles-Cowboys game. Even a game that doesn't matter as much.
Right.
It's still full of surprises and twists and moments that show you the heart of the NFL.
That's why we love doing these deep dives, to dig deeper and share those insights with you.
Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're Bobby doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.